Welcome to the premiere episode of Wood Buffalo Recovery Update. I'm Craig Momney, and on this episode, we'll give you an update on the recovery efforts here in the Wood Buffalo region, as we'll speak with the chairperson of the Wood Buffalo Recovery Task Force. As well, we'll find out more information about the FireSmart program. We'll also speak with a psychosocial coordinator to talk about mental health and the support here in the region. All this coming up on Wood Buffalo Recovery Update. It's been 10 months since the evacuation, 7 months since the task force committee has been formed. With me is Jeanette Bancars, the chairperson for the Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Now, a lot of people probably have no idea that there is a committee or a task force. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what they are and what their purpose is?
So understanding the complexity of the community and all the issues that resulted from the wildfire, it is a best practice in disaster recovery to kind of have a community-oriented committee that would kind of oversee the recovery. And so the recovery committee was created through a bylaw with our council, and we have 3 councils on our committee and 6 community members that were selected to kind of guide our community through recovery. And so along with that, we have a team lead, Dana Woodworth, who's an expert in disaster recovery, and he oversees the Wood Buffalo Recovery Task Force, which is actually the body of team members, municipal team members that do all of the work of recovery.
There's been so much recovery happening throughout the region. It's coming along, I'm guessing very well. You go through Beacon Hill, you got homes, you got, all the way through the area. You got even up in Eagle Ridge area, you got homes all the way. Can you give us an update on the recovery process and how the rebuilding is going in all these affected areas?
So the process is long and tedious, you can imagine, but I think you're right. Everything is really coming together. Yeah. Myself, personally, on behalf of the committee, we're thrilled with the progress that we've made. I know for Fort McMurray, sometimes it's not fast enough, and the progress isn't big enough. But we have high expectations on ourselves. When I talk to organizations and people outside of our community, they can't believe how far we've come already. So just around rebuild, which is one of our 5 pillars of recovery, just around rebuild, we have over 500 building permits issued. We've already done, I believe, as of the 22nd, 142 insulation inspections, and we have, I believe, 25 of our residents are living in their new homes already.
That's amazing. I know I just said Eagle Ridge, but I meant to say actually Stone Creek area. Those houses are really coming along. Is there one area in specific that maybe has come a long way or has been a lot quicker in the rebuild since it all began?
Yeah, I would say that Wood Buffalo and Stone Creek were very fast on their rebuild. Some of it was because of the individuals that are in those locations, but we've had people living in their homes basically in every one of our communities, just because there are some of our residents that were extremely resilient, and they started on their rebuild efforts even before we got back to town.
That's amazing. Now, some people don't know, the task force meets every 2 weeks, am I correct?
The recovery committee, has a public meeting every 2 weeks. The second and fourth Wednesday of the month. Can
you give us an update on what happened this past meeting?
So it was quite a long meeting, actually. We had a lot of our community organizations come and give an update. So we had Crystal and Idle from the Insure Group, and the Insure Group is an organization that has volunteers from the Samaritan's Purse, World Renew, the Mennonite Disaster Group, also partnering with FireSmart and Habitat for Humanity to support those most affected that either were uninsured or maybe underinsured, that either lost their homes or have significant repair to their damaged home. So they gave an update. They've got a coordinator now. They've got 70 active applications on the go. We're expecting more. We don't know some of our residents. We know there's more people that were uninsured. We don't know where you are, but please give a call even to the Pulse line to get more information. 780-743-7000 would be helpful to get you on your way. So they gave us an update. They're also looking for volunteers from the community, maybe businesses that can do a build similar to a Habitat build, but can support these other experienced builders to help those that don't have enough money to rebuild their homes.
Now, I know one of the biggest organizations that has been a big factor in helping with the evacuation, the return to Fort McMurray, as well as the rebuild, is the Red Cross. Give me an update about how they've been helping out so far with the rebuild.
Well, the Red Cross, I think they have a big job in front of them. I think this is probably the most money they've ever raised, $319 million. That includes matching from the Government of Canada of $104 million and $30 million from the Government of Alberta. So they have three pillars that they work within. They've designated $227 million to residents, to people. They've designated $50 million to our community organizations, our social profit sector, who support our residents, and they've designated $30 million to support our small business.
That's amazing how much work they've done to help us in our recovery process. You have a big initiative coming out just outside at McMurray Experience coming up. It's a public engagement. You want to touch a little bit on that?
Sure, absolutely. So right from the start of our recovery, when we first came to be, we understood that the community needed to own its recovery. And so with that, we've committed to being accessible to our residents, to our small business owners, and all of our residents, not just those that are most affected by the fire. And so we've done over 40 community engagement sessions, and now starting bi-weekly as well on the alternate Wednesdays outside of our public meeting, we will be between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. Every second Wednesday at the McMurray Experience, just to answer questions, to provide information to our residents, and just gather some feedback and priorities, because the community really does own its recovery.
What are you hoping to get out of those engagement sessions at the end of this all?
Just an understanding of how should we move forward. So a lot of the suggestions and feedback we've received from residents have actually been factored into decisions and the initiatives that we have gone forward. We are just entering our busiest construction year of recovery, and so it's important that our community understands what the issues might be, how they can prepare themselves, whether or not they're rebuilding. Some of our schools are affected, those kind of things. We have all of those answers, and we also have our partners that will be there. IBC will be there to support those that are having some issues with their insurance provider. The Red Cross will be there. Our People Pillar ladies will be there to support those. It is starting to be, people are becoming, I would say, more challenged emotionally around it. We're starting to near May 3rd. I myself even am seeking support to kind of make sure that my head's in the right space as well, right?
Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think you'd like to add to this recovery update here?
The only thing I'd really like to add is the success we've had so far really is a tribute to the resilience of our community, and I can't thank those residents enough that have really taken control of their situations and just move forward in recovery. It's wonderful to see, and it doesn't surprise me at all, knowing that we're here in Fort McMurray, that we've had the progress that we've had.
Absolutely. Now, along with the recovery, you're also taking precautions just in case something like this were to happen again. We're going to speak with someone about the FireSmart program in just a little bit, and that'll happen right after the break, right here on Wood Buffalo Recover. Welcome back to Wood Buffalo Recovery. If you've been driving around town, you may have seen little spot fires or smoke billowing from the sides of the roads. Now, it's not something to be worried about. This is all part of the FireSmart program. And tell us a little bit more about it is Stephen Fudge. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. What is the FireSmart program, Stephen?
So FireSmart in itself is a nationally recognized program that is intended to identify 7 different disciplines to help mitigate wildfires in different areas. So what residents are seeing there is a part of our Birchwood Trail Phase 2 project. And what we're trying to do, this is a fuels reduction project by way of thinning and reducing combustible fuel. So we're looking at the evergreen trees that are in those stands, and we're reducing the fuels by thinning them out, spacing the trees, removing any dead standing trees, any dead on the ground, and lifting up the canopy, removing ladder fuels. So the goal of this is to reduce the ability of a fire to move through these zones and to certainly stop any crown fires. So what that does is creates a defensible space if a fire were to approach that area where crews could get in and fight that fire and make it safe for the community. So these projects are generally found in the interface zone where our natural forest stands are immediately adjacent to developed areas. And this project is going around the perimeter of the Birchwood Trails, reducing those fuels, and is a very over mature, decadent forest, so there's a lot of combustible fuels in there, so we're trying to take every effort that we can to reduce and remove those fuels from that area.
Now, this is not the first year the FireSmart program has taken place.
Yes, FireSmart program has certainly been around since my experience with the municipality in 2005. We have a FireSmart committee where we do our planning and that sort of thing, and set priorities and different areas where it needs to be implemented, and that's been a part of the municipality since my experience since 2005.
Now, who's conducting these control burns, and what kind of precautions are they taking while they do these?
So, in the selection process, given the nature of the Birchwood Trails, the value to the community, the different user groups, the stay-in conditions, and the proximity, we were very careful in choosing a contractor. So we were very selective in finding one that has quite experienced in doing FireSmart work, that understands the value of the forest and the user groups and that. So this is a company that we've hired that has over 20 plus years of FireSmart experience, conducting those projects in very environmentally sensitive areas like national parks and that. They did some work in Slave Lake after their fire, so we were very fortunate to be able to find a company like that. They are very diligent in managing these projects and the controlled burns. They have certified tree risk assessors on task, and actually those hand crews are actually certified firefighters as well. So what residents, important for our residents to understand is that given the nature of the forest, there's a lot of fuels that had to be removed from this area. So we're applying a number of different measures to remove the debris. We're mulching some on site, but there's a limit of how much you can leave there so that it doesn't contribute to any fuels. We're making firewood available to the community at no cost to taxpayers. We're actually diverting some of the debris material to the landfill that's being used in their compost, and then we're burning some of that debris in burn piles. So that's being done in a very controlled and regulated manner under favorable weather conditions and following the strict guidelines that set forth in burn permits issued by the fire department.
So I guess probably the one question that's on the people's minds as they drive by this is all being done safe. It's totally safe.
Like I said, there's very strict regulations and requirements that the contractor has to follow in order to burn. They have measures in place that if necessary, they're able to extinguish those burn piles in a very short time frame that's established in the burn pits. Permits, and it's monitored 24/7 as long as those burn piles are active. They have someone on site monitoring those.
Now, while safety is a #1 priority while people do drive by these spot fires, mental health is also a priority. We're going to speak with a psychosocial coordinator in just a little bit right here on Wood Buffalo Recovery Update. Welcome back to Wood Buffalo Recovery Update. I'm now with Jane Barter, a psychosocial coordinator with the Wood Buffalo Recovery Task Force. First off, what is a psychosocial coordinator?
So a psychosocial coordinator, what we do, we're just here with the municipality, and we are support with mental health with the community.
Okay, now as you just saw, we just spoke with a FireSmart coordinator about the fires and people driving by the fire, driving by smoke, which could affect them mentally. What kind of information would you have for those people if this does happen?
Well, absolutely. So everybody has different triggers. We just call them triggers with mental health, of course, right? And you may not know what your triggers are at that time, but certainly when people drive by these controlled burns, the smoke, the fire, the flames, the smell even, these all could be different triggers for people. Yeah. So the most important message is that it's okay to feel what you're feeling, and you may have different triggers. You may not know what they are at the time. You may be experiencing different symptoms of anxiety. You may feel panicked at some time. Your heart may race a little bit, some palpitations. You may have like cold, sweaty hands. And what's really important is just to breathe at the time that this is happening. Take a breath, be mindful of the situation, and to realize that this is a controlled burn and that it's okay. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. However, you know, when you do get to a safe space after, maybe talk to a friend. And if these symptoms or anything persist, you can certainly speak to a counselor.
Now triggers, I know a lot of people have been talking about triggers, seeing smoke, seeing flames. Everybody reacts differently.
Absolutely.
Everyone has their own triggers. Tell me a little bit about that and what people should do with those as well.
Absolutely. So everybody, sometimes you don't even know what your triggers are actually, right?
Yeah.
So as you said, like the smoke or flames, our five senses, any five senses can be a trigger to you. So what happens after and how you cope is the most important thing. So if you don't feel that you are coping well with your triggers, so such as anxiety or panic, or some people are even feeling some symptoms of PTSD, then at that time you need to speak to somebody. It's really important, and it's okay. We have a lot of counseling services. The RMWB has counseling services, as well we have some really great resources in our community, such as Legacy Counseling, Borealis Counseling, and we also have the Canadian Mental Health Association of Wood Buffalo, which is also wonderful. So you can reach out to any of these resources at any time, because if you feel that you aren't coping well, then they can help you with your coping techniques.
A lot of people probably also think it's been 10 months. I should be over this. I shouldn't be feeling the way I feel. But there is no time frame to getting I don't even want to say get over it, right?
Right.
There's no specific time frame for mental health.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. There is no time frame. Some people may have been experiencing any type of triggers or any type of symptoms at all at the beginning, but it may take a long time. And even though it's just been 10 months, there's no such thing as just getting over it. What's important for everybody to know is that everybody recovers in different ways and at different times. You may experience this 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. It's how we cope with it that makes the difference. But always remember that people recover and in different ways and in different lengths of time.
Now, for anybody that's watching this right now, what kind of messaging would you like them to know, like as soon as about mental health?
I think the biggest message that is very important for the whole community is that it's okay for you to feel what you're feeling. I really think a lot of individuals in the community, such as myself, who may have not gone through the severe of like the losing your home, for example, if they feel sad at any time, some people are feeling that they shouldn't feel that way, but it's okay for you to feel that way. Every single person that evacuated from this community has gone through a traumatic event. And the way that traumatic events affect us with our mental health are all different for every individual. Every individual of this community has a story, and everybody's story is important. And I really think that that's the biggest message that we should have out there. Every story is important, and you're all important, and it's okay to feel what you feel. If at any time, though, that you feel that you're sad for a long period of time, or that you're not coping with anxiety or maybe panic, then that's a time that you should reach out to any counseling resources that we have here in our community. And we have such amazing resources, as I mentioned earlier.
I know you did mention them earlier. Can you mention them again so we can
Absolutely.
get them
So the RMWB as well has counseling services. We also have Alberta Health Services, and they have many wonderful services at AHS. We also have Legacy Counseling, Borealis Counseling, and the Canadian Mental Health Association of Wood Buffalo is also a wonderful resource that you can go to if you already have or been diagnosed with a mental illness. And they also have very good programs too that help you cope with coping techniques, and they have advocacy as well for clients.
Perfect. Thank you very much for being on the show today, Jane.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be right back right here on Wood Buffalo Recovery Update. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this episode of Wood Buffalo Recovery Update. For more information on the recovery efforts, you can head over to the RMWB's website. And as always, you can watch every task force meeting right here on Shaw TV. Thank you for watching. I'm Craig Momney, and we'll see you later.